June 19th, President Trump will deliver remarks at the NFIB 75th anniversary lunch. NFIB is America's leading small business association promoting and protecting the right of Americans to own, operate, and grow their businesses. The President will highlight the strong American economy and tout the benefits we are seeing from tax reform and deregulation, including that small business optimism has hit its highest level in more than 30 years. As you know, National Economic Council Director and Assistant to the President Larry Kudlow was discharged from the hospital and is recovering at home. The President has spoken with Larry, and he's in good spirits. We look forward to having him back here at the White House soon. Tonight at Nationals Park, Republicans and Democrats in Congress will put aside their political differences to play America's game. After last year's horrible shooting at the GOP practice, where Capitol Police acted heroically in the line of fire to save lives, we're excited to see those who were injured return to the field, including Majority Whip Steve Scalise. Those injured have fought hard for this moment. We will proudly be cheering them on. I've heard the Republican team looks pretty good in practice and that they're headed for a victory. Lastly, on June 14th, we celebrate Flag Day, commemorating the adoption of our American flag, which we all proudly stand for, the founding of our brave U.S. Army, and last but certainly not least, we would like to wish the President a very, very happy birthday. And if I do say so, I don't think he looks a day over 35. And with that, I'll take your questions. A little sucking up is probably never bad. Kevin.
Sir, thank you. If you would please comment on the recently released IG report, your impressions of what you've read so far, and have you had an opportunity to discuss with the President the New York Attorney General's idea of suing the Trump Foundation to have it shut down in the state of New York?
The President was briefed on the IG report earlier today, and it reaffirmed the President's suspicions about Comey's conduct and the political bias among some of the members of the FBI. Director Wray, as you know, will be holding a press conference later this afternoon, and we'd encourage you to tune in for specific questions. As to your other question, the President has tweeted about this specifically earlier today. The foundation raised $18 million while giving $19 million to charity while virtually having zero expenses. The previous New York AG, who was forced to retire in disgrace, made its stated mission to use this matter to advance his own political gain, and the current acting New York AG has stated that battling the White House is the most important job she's ever done. That sounds outrageously biased and certainly problematic and very concerning. Cecilia.
Sarah, in the State of the Union, the President had some really harsh words for North Korea. He said no regime has oppressed its own citizens more brutally than North Korea. Why is he now downplaying North Korea's horrific atrocities?
The President hasn't downplayed. Like you said, the President has raised North Korea's human rights record and some of the abuses of the North Korean regime in a number of occasions. He also raised them at the summit that took place earlier this week, but the focus of the summit was denuclearization and peace on the peninsula, and that was the purpose of the President's conversation, and that was the focus of what took place there.
But when he human rights on Fox News, he said a lot of other people have done some really bad things. How is that not downplaying the atrocities?
Again, certainly that's a factual statement. A lot of people have done some bad things. However, the President hasn't ignored the bad things that have been done by the North Korean regime. He's directly called it out on a number of occasions, as you yourself mentioned, and he brought it up at the summit. And again, the purpose of the summit was to focus on denuclearization and looking towards that brighter future, and that was what the President was trying to do. Margaret?
Thank you, Sarah. Could you confirm that there is a trade principles meeting today, that there are Chinese tariffs coming tomorrow? And there was a report that somewhere in the...
It's a lot of questions. We'll go one at a time. First,
it's the same thing.
yes, there is a trade meeting today. In terms of any announcements, I'll keep you posted when we have something to announce.
So the third part of my two-part question is there has been a report that, that 800 to 900 Chinese products would be on that tariffs list. It seems like quite a high number, even though I guess the highest number is 1,300. But even if you're not ready to roll out the whole thing, if that number is higher than it really is, could you tell us now?
Well, since I'm not making any announcements, it would be hard for me to give details of an announcement that we're not quite ready to make. Whether or not we will, we'll certainly keep you posted. But beyond that, I can't get into any details. David?
Thank you, Sarah. 2 questions, if you don't mind. The president said earlier this week that he did speak with Kim Jong-un about human rights abuses. Can you tell us exactly what areas of concern they talked about? Was it the Gulag work camps, torture, public executions, the lack of freedom of religion of the press, kidnapping, women's rights? What did they actually talk about?
Again, they covered a number of different topics, a couple that you listed. I'm not going to get into all of the details of their private conversation, but I can tell you, as the president has already publicly stated, that he did bring up human rights abuses of the North Korean regime.
And
Jim?
I'm sorry,
you too.
I just say too. Rudy Giuliani spent 20 minutes today talking with one of our reporters about his love life and proclaimed that, and I think his words, he's not going to be a priest if he's separated from his third wife. Has this become too big of a distraction to the point where the president would consider going to get another lawyer? And then also on that, he said his soon-to-be ex Judith called the president last week. Can you tell us what they talked about?
I'm not today or tomorrow or at any point ever going to comment on Rudy Giuliani's love life. I will be glad to leave that to you and the reporter that spoke with him, and I'm not aware of a call and don't have any information on that. Jim?
Sarah, can you tell us why the president saluted the North Koreans when he was over in Singapore?
It's a common courtesy when a military official from another government salutes that you return
Can I
that.
just ask a second question, completely unrelated, on these children who are being separated from their families as they come across the border? The Attorney General earlier today said that somehow there's a justification for this in the Bible. Where does it say in the Bible that it's moral to take children away from their mothers?
I'm not aware of the Attorney General's comments or what he would be referencing. I can say that it is very biblical to enforce the law. That is actually repeated a number of times throughout the Bible. However, this hold on, Jim, if you'll let me finish. Again, I'm not going to comment on the attorney's specific comments that I haven't seen.
It's in the Bible to
That's
follow
not
the
what
law.
I said, and I know it's hard for you to understand, even short sentences, I guess, and please don't take my words out of context, but the separation of illegal alien families is the product of the same legal loopholes that Democrats refuse to close, and these laws are the same that have been on the books for over a decade, and the president is simply enforcing them.
Moral policy to take children away from their parents. Can
It's
you
a
imagine
moral
the horror
policy
that
to
these children
follow
must
and
be going
enforce the
through
law.
when they come across the border?
Jim.
They're with their parents, and then suddenly they're pulled away from their parents. Why is the government doing this?
Because it's the law, and that's what the law states. And the law.
You guys don't have to do that.
You're right, it doesn't have to be the law, and the president has actually called on Democrats in Congress to fix those loopholes. The Democrats have failed to come to the table, failed to help this president close these loopholes and fix this problem. We don't want this to be a problem. The president has tried to address it a number of occasions. We've laid out a proposal, and Democrats simply refuse to do their job and fix the problem. Paula, go ahead. Sorry, Jim, I've given you enough
2
time.
questions. First of all, there is no law that requires families to be separated at the border. This was the administration's choice to move from civil matters and immigration onto criminal, to criminally prosecute people who come across the border illegally, and therefore you have to separate families. So why did the administration find that this was necessary? And if it continues to not have much of a deterrent effect, will you continue this policy?
Again, the laws are the ones that have been on the books for over a decade, and the president is enforcing them. We would like to fix the broken system that our immigration and fix our immigration problem. However, until Democrats are willing to actually fix this problem, it's going to continue. But we would like to see it fixed. Jill.
Doesn't it take responsibility for its policy change from civil, handling them as civil matters to criminal prosecution?
It's not a policy change to enforce the law. That's been this administration's policy since the day we got here.
Made a decision in April that he was going to move from handling it as a civil
It
matter
has
to
been
criminal
our
and separating
administration's
families.
policy.
Our administration said it was a deterrent. They're separating families to deter people from coming here illegally.
Our administration has had the same position since we started on day one that we were going to enforce the law. I know it was something that wasn't high on the priority list in the previous administration, but it is on ours. We're a country of law and order, and we're enforcing the law and protecting our borders. We would like to fix these loopholes, and if Democrats want to get serious about it instead of playing political games, they're welcome to come here and sit down with the president and actually do something about it.
You're a
Jill.
parent. Don't you have any empathy?
Jill, go ahead.
Come on, Sarah. You're a parent. Don't you have any empathy for what these people are going through?
Jill.
They have less than
Brian,
you do.
guys,
Sarah, come on.
settle down.
Seriously.
I'm trying to be serious, but I'm not going to have you yell out of turn.
They're
Jill,
telling
please
us
call.
It's a law, and they have. These people have nothing. They
Hey,
come over
Brian,
here
I know
with
you want to get
nothing.
some more TV
It's
time, but that's not
that.
what this
It's
is
not
about. If I
that.
want to
It's about
recognize
answering
you,
a question,
go ahead,
Sarah.
Jill.
Honestly, answer the question. It's a serious question. These people have nothing. They come to the border with nothing, and you throw children in cages. You're a parent. You're a parent of young children. Don't you have any empathy for what they go through?
Jill, go ahead.
Two questions for you. Firstly, does the president really believe that Crimea is part of Russia because everyone there speaks Russian? And the second question, the president had said that Kim Jong-un told him that North Korea is destroying a
Let me
major...
answer your first question. I'm not aware of any comment like that. I know it's been reported, but I'm not going to comment on a private conversation I wasn't a part of that I don't have information on. Second part.
So the president said that Kim Jong-un had told him that North Korea was working to destroy a major missile engine testing site. Is that the Sohae site, as it's sometimes referred to?
We'll have specific details later. We're working with the Department of Defense, and we'll make sure we get you guys that information. Trey?
Thanks, Sarah.
Sorry, Trey, go
Two
ahead.
questions on the IG report. Earlier this year, the president suggested that the DOJ Inspector General Michael Horowitz was, quote, an Obama guy. How does the president view Horowitz today, and does he feel that this investigation was thorough?
Again, the president thinks that this report reaffirms the suspicions that he had about Comey, and Director Wray is going to hold a press conference later today, and I would encourage you to tune in for that.
About the text message exchange between...
Sorry, go ahead, Trey.
The text message exchange highlighted in the report between Lisa Page and Peter Strzok. Ultimately, the FBI agent Peter Strzok said, we'll stop it, and that he was referring to candidate Trump becoming president. Did the president have any reaction to this information when you spoke with him after he was briefed today?
Certainly, again, causes a great deal of concern, and I think points out the political bias that the president's been talking about, and that has been repeatedly mentioned from this administration that we found to be a huge problem, and we're glad they're looking into it. Krista.
Sarah, thank you. Did the president or anyone else use funds from the Trump Foundation to pay for personal, business, or campaign expenses?
I'm not aware of any of that taking place.
Would you definitively say no?
Again, I'm not aware of it, and I'd have to get more information, but I would refer you to the Trump Foundation for that specific one. I haven't spoken to him about that specifically.
Sarah, let me just follow up with you. President Trump said several months ago he doesn't think Michael Cohen is going to flip. Is that still the case?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part of your question.
President Trump tweeted several months ago that he doesn't think that Michael Cohen is going to flip. Does he still think that's the case?
I would refer you back to the president's comment. John?
Yeah, two questions, please, Sarah, and thank you. First, there have been reports on almost a daily basis and in punctilious detail about EPA head Scott Pruitt doing things that border on the unethical, and almost on a daily basis, Republican members of Congress call for his resignation. What is his status within the administration, and does the president have confidence in him to remain as administrator?
Certainly, we have some areas of concern in some of these allegations, but I don't have any personnel announcements at this point.
My second question is, Congressman Mark Sanford blamed the president's tweet as the final straw in his defeat, making him the second Republican House member to go down to defeat. This is the first time in 48 years a sitting president has opposed a member of Congress of his own party. Does the president intend to speak out for primary challenges to other critics of him within the Congress, and if so, who?
I don't have any announcements on any candidates that the president may or may not endorse, and wouldn't be able to address that from this venue either. Sorry, that's right, Mara, I'll come back to you.
I appreciate it. Two questions. First, on the two immigration bills that the House is considering, Does the president have a preference for one over the other, or are both just fine with him? And then I have another one.
The president's already laid out a proposal that closes the legal loopholes and provides the resources to secure our border. If the process leads to a permanent solution as outlined by the president, then we would support it.
Has he looked at those two?
Again, we've laid out what we want to see, and if this gets to a permanent solution, then we would support it.
All right. And then another question about immigration. You blame the Democrats for not closing the loopholes. Republicans control both houses of Congress, and despite the president's repeated preference for Mitch McConnell to get rid of the legislative filibuster so they could pass something without Democratic votes, they have not done that. So don't Republicans take some responsibility for the immigration laws?
Look, if a
that they exist?
handful of Democrats wanted to solve this problem, we could quickly get it done, but they don't, and they've refused to come to the table and actually be part of a solution instead of just playing political games and attacking the president.
The president has asked Mitch McConnell numerous times to get rid of the legislative filibuster, and he hasn't. In other words, that's not a barrier.
Look, the majority of Republicans support fixing the loopholes. The president wants to work with them. We want to get something done. We've laid out a proposal to do that, and we are hopeful that Congress, particularly Democrats in Congress, will come together and actually fix the system.
So
I called on you
Republicans bear no
next.
responsibility for the immigration problems at the border?
Look, the president wants to fix it. I mean, we have laid out a number of different plans and proposals that would close these loopholes, and we continue to be ready and willing to work with Congress to get it done. Please.
Sure. Two questions, if I may. On immigration, what does the president want to see the House of Representatives do in the next week?
Again, we've laid that out. We'd like to see a permanent solution to fix the loopholes and secure the border.
And on
DACA, I think.
well, just on upcoming votes, is there a particular bill that he favors or a particular approach on that?
Again, he wants to see all of the different components that we laid out several months ago addressed, and if any of the legislation comes to the table that would create a permanent solution that does that, then we would support it.
Thank you. And sorry, on NAFTA, the president's threat of audit tariffs, does that mean that he will withdraw from NAFTA in the coming days?
I don't have any announcements on that.
Sarah, to follow up on Trey's question on whether the president believes that the Inspector General's report was thorough, several GOP lawmakers today have called for a second special counsel. Would the president support a developed inquiry into the Inspector General's report and into the further conduct of the FBI, or does this settle the matter for all time?
Certainly, this creates a great deal of concern, and we're going to tune in to Director Wray's comments this afternoon. But certainly, there are a lot of things in this report that not only worry those of us in the administration, but should worry a lot of Americans that people played this political bias and injected that into a department that shouldn't have any of that.
To follow up on that, does the president believe that Peter Strzok should still have a job at the FBI?
I haven't specifically asked him that question, but my guess would be no. I'll take one last question. Eamon.
There are a number of officials here at the White House who are reportedly eyeing the exits, including Mark Short, Raj Shah, and yourself. Can you give us a sense of what to expect? Are any of those officials leaving, and what's the plan to replace all those high-level people?
Well, I don't know that there's a need to replace them. As I stated last night in a tweet, I think CBS got a little ahead of their skis, particularly since they put out a story about my thinking without ever actually talking to me. Seems that it would be a little bit problematic. In terms of personnel announcements, I don't have any to make. I can tell you that I show up here every day. I love my job. I'm glad to work for the president. And each and every day, I'll pray for clarity and discernment on what my future looks like. Right now, I think the country's looks pretty good, and I'm glad to get to be a part of that process, and I'm going to continue to do my job. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.
Happy birthday to the president.
All right, everybody, you just saw it here on Fox News Now, part of Fox10Phoenix.com live. Sarah Huckabee Sanders sticking to her tweet from last night, which read on her Twitter page right now. Does CBS News know something I don't about my plans and my future? I was at my daughter's year-end kindergarten event, and they ran a story about my, quote, plans to leave the White House, end quote, without even talking to me. I love my job, and I'm honored to work for POTUS.